proud members of the Podbelly Podcast Network.
I know you're tired. I know you're hurting. And I wish I could say something that was classy and inspirational.
You can do it!
But that just wouldn't be our style.
Welcome to Project Reclamation, where you rebuild, re-energize, and reclaim your life.
Welcome back. I don't know how the rest of the song goes. Isn't that the Welcome Back Cotter thing?
Yes.
Welcome back to another episode of Project Reclamation. We are proud members of the Podbelly Podcast Network. Shout out to Podbelly. Go check it out, podbelly.com. Go find all things podcasts. There's plenty of podcasts to listen to, and you can learn how to make your own podcasts. So also shout out to our numero uno sponsor, El Yucateco. Shout out to El Yucateco, the king of flavor since 1968. The best hot sauce there is. And I mean that not only because they're a sponsor, but because I've loved El Yucateco for a long time. So shout out to El Yucateco. Go check it out. They have a ton of different flavors for whatever you're cooking. Shop elucateco.com, El Yucateco. You can find most of the flavors in most of your grocery stores. So check it out. So today we have a very special treat. My mother is a teacher, and I know that teaching is something that intrigues me. And I had a lot of questions, especially throughout this whole pandemic thing, going to more virtual learning and stuff. So I wanted to have an episode about teaching, because I think that there's a lot of people, a lot of listeners, a lot of people out there who have kids who either they're teaching or their kids are learning from other people. And I think there's conceptions and misconceptions and perceptions and misperceptions about all of it. So I wanted to have my mom on. So say hi, Mom.
Hi. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So welcome to episode 115 of Project Reclamation. You probably didn't think we'd make it this far, but here we are. So we have Dru Frick with us. She's a career teacher. How long have you been teaching, Mom?
28 years, I think.
You got to get closer to the thing.
28 years.
There we go. Turn you up a little bit. So before distance learning and everything, what are some of your philosophies of teaching?
Well, probably my biggest one is seeing every child as an individual. I'm really against cookie cutter philosophies that you just teach one way for everybody, and getting to know each child, because I think that that's really important, and I think connecting with each of them. So I think if you build that trust and you connect with them and you really understand them, you really can help teach them anything.
Absolutely. Well, and it's got to be kind of fun too sometimes, because you've been an elementary school teacher. Mm-hmm. When they come back and they're older, and they've done stuff, they've done cool stuff.
Yes,
like I remember my elementary school teachers, but I don't think I've gone back and visited any of them ever.
Well, actually, some have seen you just because, but yes, it is really, really nice to see when they are doing well and they're all grown up and they have their own lives. And at our school, a lot of parents tend to send their children. So it's a little shocking, but wonderful at the same time to teach the child of a child that you taught. But
I was just going to ask you that. Now you've been teaching longer. So you have taught the child of a child that you taught.
Yes. Quite a few. Yes.
That's kind of weird, isn't it?
A little bit, because it makes you feel a bit old. Although I had one very sweet one, I don't know, a few years ago, he came and he said, "You still look the same." And I was,
oh, that's sweet.
I know it's not true, but it was very sweet to hear.
Well, that's cool. So I know that there's a lot of people have talked. I mean, Joe Rogan's mentioned it.
Yeah.
He doesn't think too highly of teachers, not right now. But he's, until recently he was in LA. Maybe the LA teachers suck more than you. I don't know. Maybe not. And I know they've talked about it on, you listen to Bobby Bones a lot.
Yes.
They've talked about it on Bobby Bones.
Yes.
They've actually had you on Bobby Bones.
Yes.
To talk about it.
Yes,
so that's kind of cool. What are just okay? I don't even know where I'm going with this, and I don't know that I'm the right person to even be asking these questions. What has been the biggest transition, the hardest transition for you, the hardest transition for the kids going to distance learning?
Okay, so probably
like a 3-part question. the biggest transition, just in general.
Okay, the biggest
hard or easy, whatever.
Okay, so the first part, the biggest transition for everyone is being virtual and being on screen instead of in the classroom. When we were shut down suddenly in the spring, they gave us 1 week to figure it all out.
I mean, that's you only needed like a day, though, right?
Yeah, right. We only needed a day. It was very overwhelming, and I know that spring felt very unsure to parents and teachers because we just really weren't given any guidance beyond Zoom accounts, and people were just trying to survive and figure out how we could teach the kids. Then, so I would say that was probably the biggest transition for everyone, was all of a sudden everybody's at home and everybody's figuring out the technology. Fortunately...
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to just say, fortunately, the generation of children going to school are really digital natives. And
I was going to say it's probably a lot bigger of a jump for the teachers than the kids.
That and probably the parents, but the good thing is the kids really knew how to
and they can teach
use
us
their
all
iPads and everything, except for the kinders and those kids.
That must be tough. They're just wiping their boogers on their iPads during Zoom calls.
No, I think the little ones participate. You just can't expect more than 10 or 15 minutes at a time with an activity, but they're like that in the classroom anyway, that, you have to switch it up. The hardest for the children, I would say.
What's the hardest transition for the children?
So the hardest transition for the children, I think, is not being with their friends. I don't think they really mind being on screen because I think in some ways they almost feel like they're still one-on-one with their teacher because they're seeing their teacher in the screen. And
can they see the other kids or no?
If they have it on gallery, they can, or they can just put speaker view and then the teacer's just in the screen. So, and for some of the kids, it's actually a positive thing because a lot of certain kids, get very distracted when they're sitting around other children. But if they're sitting...
Yeah, that was the story of my life in school.
So if they're sitting, not with all these other kids, I mean, some of them actually enjoy it. Mm-hmm. Some kids get a little bit of anxiety in the classroom, and I have one little boy like that, and he actually prefers being at home in his screen. But I think the hardest thing for most of them is not physically seeing their friends.
Okay.
The hardest thing for the teachers was, I think, a couple things. One, of course, the technology and figuring out how to do a good job of getting things that the kids can work on digitally. And also for us too, we're so used to collaborating on the fly. You see people in between even waiting in line for the bathroom or, you have to talk to this person or that person. So we've also, made better use of Zooming and of course emails and things like that when we could actually talk to someone if we were there. But the other thing that we do, and I know a lot of schools do too, is we also have a pickup every 2 weeks. So the kids actually get materials that go home.
Okay.
So they pick that up. And so I think for us, just figuring out a good balance of, being able to have the right things for them to be able to work on and work on with us. They're not just working independently.
Have certain teachers had more issues or been, I don't know, more challenged with it?
Yeah, I think in any job situation, you're going to find some people that have more trouble with technology.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think there are teachers that struggle a little bit more with, doing breakout rooms and different things on Zoom or making, using their Google Classrooms or, being able to put documents into slides that the kids can work on. But everybody's really helpful. And we have I would put myself somewhere in the middle. I mean, it hasn't been too hard, but I had to learn a lot of things. And we have a couple teachers, one in particular that she's just very techie and she's really nice about showing. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
When I know when you called into when you were on the Bobby Bones show, you were giving advice to parents of teachers, parents of children who were being taught. What was your advice to those parents?
So this was in the spring, and
so it was all a little bit newer back then.
It was newer, and I was just telling them to, relax and hang in there because everything is going to be okay, and they didn't have to be the teacher, and they could just help their kids with the classwork. And sometimes, especially then when it was a lot of independent work that kids were given to do.
Oh, okay.
If it wasn't working, do something else. And there's a lot of things that, like baking, that's math or things like that.
Oh, yeah.
To find fun ways to teach them different things or read to them, things like
you
that.
You could find a way to mix cleaning with math, and you could have your kids clean your house and learn at the same time.
Well, they could clean the fraction of a house.
There
I don't know. Anyway, that was kind of my advice then.
Baking is math, and that's why I don't bake.
Baking is very much math, but it's a great way to teach kids fractions.
Yeah.
Because you're measuring and it's fun. So that was kind of where everything was then. And I believe in Tennessee they're actually back, except I know one of the people on the show said that he has a middle schooler and they shut down again. So he was home. But
that's probably happening more and more.
So
shutting back down.
Yeah. So that's kind of what we talked about then. I think now.
Yeah. What's changed?
So what's changed for us, and I can't really speak to every state, but for us in our district, we are on Zoom with the kids the whole school day. So I know that was a problem for a lot of parents that, they felt that their kids were given work and they just had to sit in front of their screen. And we've been treating it like a real school day. So we have one period of about an hour and then a 20-minute break, and the kids are...
So on the break, do they just do whatever they want?
Yeah, we encourage them to go, either like go for a walk or
go
play,
run around,
have a snack, go to the
bathroom.
bathroom.
Don't lick any doorknobs.
Exercise your body,
yeah.
Get away from your screen. And then we have another block, and then same thing, a 20-minute break, same thing, they're encouraged. Then we have another block, and then they have an hour for lunch because our school does free lunch, and a lot of our kids go get the free lunch.
Oh, so the kid... Oh, okay. I see what you mean.
Yeah, so they walk over to school with their parents and pick up the free lunch.
Do most of the kids at your school live within walking distance?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Our school is almost completely a walking school. They call it a walking school.
I just pictured a giant building just walking around.
Yeah. And so they don't all go get the lunch, but I mean, there's an hour for lunch. And again, it's like, go for a walk, have fun, do something, get out in the sunshine. We don't want them sitting in front of their screens during, their break times.
Yeah.
And then there is then K through second are done. They're done at noon. And then because they figure that's enough screen time for the kids that age. And then
K through what?
K through 2.
Okay.
And then 3rd through 6th has another block till 1:40. And then right now, I was a classroom teacher for 20 some years, and this is my 6th year as reading intervention. So I actually take groups of older kids even after that 1:40 till about 2:15. Which is like their regular school day.
So you're just working on their reading?
Reading and some writing, yeah.
Reading in general or reading out loud, or both?
All kinds of reading.
All kinds of reading?
Helping them decode, comprehension, everything.
Awesome.
And depending on the age, like my first graders are learning to read.
Yeah. Like, what does an A sound like?
Yeah.
What does a B sound like?
Yes.
What happens from here on out? Like
what's going to happen next?
Yeah, what's next? I mean, what is the future of classroom learning, teaching? I mean, who knows? This stupid thing may go on forever.
Right.
It may stop, but I don't think things are going to go back to like exactly the way they used to be.
So one thing I want to say, because I really think this is something that's not understood by people, especially like Joe Rogan, that and he's probably never going to hear this, but maybe we should tag him on it. Only, and not in a bad way, but people.
Honestly, Joe should have you on because he, well, and he like I said, he may have had bad experiences, but there's teachers just like any other. There's better teachers and there's not so good teachers.
Yeah, I mean, I can speak for our school for sure. And every teacher has been working at least 5 or 6 hours on top of the school day, just trying to make it all work, like coming up with slides and different things. But what I wanted to say is teachers aren't choosing any of this. Like we're being told. So I know a lot of people.
No, but there's lazy teachers out there who they were going to be lazy teachers regardless. But I mean, you hear the news articles and it's just think about cops or any other. Yeah. You're only going to hear the ones who are bad at their jobs are the ones that are going to make the news. Like the teachers who do a great job or the cops who do a great job, you're never going to hear about them. But I've just been hearing about like teachers like Zooming from like the park or something, which honestly, if you could still teach from the park. It's not a bad thing.
Yeah, really.
But just basically teachers like just phoning it in. Well, literally, I guess.
Well, it is
just
true.
Zooming it in.
And I have heard of districts that had like the teachers only had to meet for a half an hour with their kids, and then there was some site or platform that they can just drop in worksheets. And we do not do that. And I would be very against doing that. But I guess what I wanted to say is like, we're not choosing this. So when people are like, what's happening? What is going to happen is whatever they tell us is going to happen. But what I know right now.
I was more asking about like what
they're saying. What
they're saying, or just your opinion of what is teaching, what do things look like a month from now, like a year from now? You don't have to answer this specifically, but just in general, like short term, long term.
Yeah, I mean, I can speak to what they know now. So the plan for our district right now, and that could change because we went from red to purple into tier 3. So now we're back to more of a shutdown.
Thanks, Gavin.
Is that they wanted when the semester changes, they want to send elementary back in a hybrid model. Their plan is to keep the secondary remote. So what that would mean for us is that we
secondary is in high school and middle school?
Junior high, yeah.
So not what? 7 through 12?
7 to 12. So, and I think part of that is they just can't figure that out because the way that kids change classes and all take different things, I think they just can't figure that out yet.
Sorry, let me divert a little bit. Are they doing like I'm zooming onto my history class for an hour and then I get a 5-minute break and then I have to zoom into my French class for an hour? Is that how secondary is going right now?
We are so separate. I am not positive, but yes, I believe so.
Okay.
So I believe the kids probably just have, and they're old enough to do that, they have a list of the Zooms and they just zoom into their class with the teacher at the time, and then they have a break.
Even with the teachers who are doing a good job with all this, like you included, I still feel bad for the kids because I feel like they're missing out. And again, it's not your fault.
Well,
we're all missing out on social interaction.
Yeah, I mean,
every single freaking one of us.
They for sure are missing out on social interaction, and it's harder for us because, of course, being physically with them and being able to stand next to a child or have a small group at a table instead of on a screen is obviously how you want to be. And no teacher wants to be home except that.
Well, some teachers probably do.
I was going to say, there's the whole fear thing and obviously getting sick, but I mean.
Oh, I meant the lazy ones.
Oh, nobody thinks, this is the greatest thing. But anyway, back to your plan their plan is that
hybridized model.
You would have an A group and a B group so that half your class would come Monday and the other half would come Tuesday. And then Wednesday, everybody would just Zoom. And then Thursday, the A group, and then Friday, the B group. And
so wait. Huh?
So, okay. So
the days that they're not.
The days that they're not in school. So they would be in school. Teachers, we'd all be back on campus.
For 4 days a week.
For 4 days, and then
Wednesday's a Zoom day.
I believe we would have to also Zoom from the classroom. We're supposed to be on campus.
Well, that's fine, but my question is, it sounds like then both groups would only be going to school 3 days a week if you count the Zoom day.
Right. So the alternate days that they're the 2 days that they're truly not on with their teacher, they would check in, and we're still a little, this is still a little confusing to everybody, but the specialists, so we have a STEAM teacher, we have a music teacher, we have a PE teacher.
Oh, so they would do all the
They would
more
do
elective type stuff those
right.
days?
So they would be meeting most of the time with their
What is STEAM?
Science, technology, engineering, art, and music.
Oh.
But we have a music teacher, so math. So what they're going to do is that change from the art position, but most schools are doing this now, so they're trying to they're trying to incorporate engineering and technology into the art. So they're doing more projects that are based
Technology
that
do
way.
they get into? I mean, elementary school is probably a little young, but do they get into some of the like web design and coding and stuff like that, or at least the building blocks of those things?
I'm not sure what she's doing because this is the first year that we've had STEAM. It was an art position.
Interesting.
So it's relatively new everywhere. Some have had it. It used to be STEM. They added the E for engineering. I do know that our STEAM
Wait, it
teacher...
didn't used to be STEM then?
I'm sorry. They added...
The A for art?
The A for art.
Oh,
Thank you.
okay.
See, I'm not a STEAM teacher. I'm not sure.
I thought STEAM was a video game company.
So it was STEM, and then they added in the art, and now it's STEAM. Anyway, it's basically using science and engineering, all of that, and then doing some type of art with it. But this is her first year doing it.
Okay.
She was a fourth grade teacher at our school for a few years, but apparently her bachelor's is in engineering.
Oh.
So she does have a lot of background.
That's cool.
Yeah. Anyway, so they're going to be on with the specialists, and then when they have to work independently, whether it's read for 30 minutes or work on, we have a reading program, Lexia, there's a dream box, such as math, then one of those teachers would kind of lead it and, lead them into that activity.
Okay, I
so
see.
that's what they would do. That's the plan. And then...
I mean, it sounds okay. It sounds complicated, though.
Yeah, and then the rules. So I'll be able to take groups because I am considered, I'm not special ed specifically, but under that umbrella. So the special ed teacher and the special ed teachers and my partner and I will be able to take kids into our classroom and work with them.
On the 4 day, okay.
On the date, yeah.
I'm just trying to wrap my head around this.
It's
it sounds
very
complicated.
hard. We had a staff meeting and everybody's eyes were pretty much rolling up into their head because...
Well, it sounds like it's just going to confuse the kids.
I think it's going to be very confusing.
How many kids aren't going to show up on the right days?
And the other thing that I think is unfortunate about this whole thing is that they're all going to have to be in desks 6 feet apart. They won't.
And that's why you can only have. That's why they're splitting up into A and B because you can't have 30 kids in a classroom.
Correct.
And have them all be social distanced.
They have to have their own little supplies. So you have to have even kindergartners would have to have blocks and all those things at their desk. They're not going to be allowed to get up and move around because that's one of the rules. We're going to have to stand 6 feet away from them. We have face shields and masks. They have masks. They talked about face shields. I'm not sure about that with the kids. When they go outside,
you're gonna have a bunch of little welders.
Yeah. When they go outside, they aren't going to be able to play on any of the play equipment. They're wrapping all of that in wrap so they can't play on it.
Ooh, but what if it's bubble wrap? That would be fun. I would play on it bubble wrap.
It's actually not. I've seen what they've wrapped some of the things. It's just this heavy duty plastic wrap. So I feel like that is almost.
We used to have that when I worked for the place here in high school.
Okay.
We'd wrap the giant tables in it.
Yeah.
And then one time we wrapped our boss's car in plastic wrap. It was amazing.
So, so it's not going to be the same. They're not going to be.
Yeah.
Have the freedoms, and it's so unfortunate because education has progressed to this wonderful place where the kids can, break out into groups and work together and, be not just sitting in their desks and being able to move around a little bit more and it's more organic and it's more engaging, and I think they learn better, and now, we're going to have to.
It seems to me it might almost be better to just continue doing things the way you're doing it until they can figure out. Whatever. I mean, I'm not going to get into weird conspiracies or anything, but if everyone needs the vaccine or whatever it is that allows people to enter back into normal life, like it sounds like.
That's my own opinion. And it's the opinion of, I would say, most of our staff is just that.
Yeah.
Right now, I think the kids are at least
because it's like
having a better experience, and they really are liking being on with their teachers. This is the first time usually kids are excited about a break.
Well, tell me that. How many of your kids, I mean, if they all live within walking distance of school, then they live within walking distance of their friends. So I think some of them are probably seeing each other.
I don't think so, because the parents have been also very, very careful.
So they're like,
they're pretty much locked.
So they're better listeners than I am, because I don't.
Well, some of our parents have to work outside the home.
Yeah.
But they've still been very careful with their kids, and they send them to, if they have to be out, they're working. We have several kids that are at Boys and Girls Club or Girls Inc. They've made.
What are they doing there?
They social distance them, and then they make sure that they're on the screens with their teachers.
That's kind of cool.
So it is nice, and they're safe.
Well, that's good, because that was actually a question I was going to ask you, because there's a lot of parents who have to work, who can't work from home, or aren't working from home right now.
We also had
you had people, they could come to the school and do it, right?
Right. So when we went into red, we were able to make 3 cohorts of.
Oh, you can't do that anymore
14,
now?
Well, when we went into purple, they were ready to add a couple more cohorts, and they said, no, you can't add any more.
But they can stay where they are.
Yeah,
okay.
the existing can stay. So those kids, same thing.
You can't expect a freaking 4th grader to be at home alone.
Right.
I could end the sentence right there.
Well, they shouldn't be home alone.
They shouldn't be home alone, but I'm sure there were some, right? At some point.
Yeah, there are.
Because mom and dad both have to work.
Yeah, there are.
Or maybe it's just a mom or just a dad.
There are some.
Maybe they have an older sibling that's doing something, but maybe they don't.
Yeah. So the cohorts at school, they like that. And those kids at least are there. They're not, it's very strict. They can't just play, but they at least see their friends or see other kids.
Well, and they're there to have someone to make sure they don't die, but they're still on the Zoom calls with their actual teachers,
yes,
right?
So some of the kids that I see are right there at school, and they're Zooming with us, and but they're in a room with non-teaching staff that supervise and make sure that they're on and help them, charge their iPads or whatever it is that they need.
So let's say, where was I going to go with this? For parents who maybe have questions, who are still let's say you were having the same conversation with, the staff from Bobby Bones again. Let's say Tennessee was going back into just whatever, generic parents. Now that things, with the direction things are going and things that have changed since the spring, what is your advice to parents on how to be the best parents they can be while their kids go through this? And the teachers are probably trying their best. Well,
I feel like really it's not so much different than when kids were in school, because as a parent, I'll just speak for myself as a parent right now, like I felt like my job was to make sure that you guys were obviously at school, for one, and that you did whatever homework you had.
We made you think we were at school.
And, like supporting where you can help, but sometimes you can't help them. And, you can always talk to the teacher to re-explain or whatever. So I guess my advice for parents is don't think of it that you have to go, you're not becoming the teacher. Please make sure that your child is on. That's helpful. Yeah. But you would make sure your child's at school. And I also think teachers have been very open with ways to communicate with them. Parents are all given the Zoom, the Zoom ID. They can Zoom with them. Teachers have an office hour.
That's cool.
Once a week, but they could Zoom with them anytime. Emailing, I have Zoomed with parents that had questions. So, it's almost easier in a way to get a hold of a teacher because you don't have to go to the school. And as far as I know, a teacher would help anybody explain something, like, of course they would re-explain it to the child or help them.
I'm sure most.
So I would say that, and also making sure that they are understanding, because I know one thing that I heard complained about was, the teacher expects them to sit in front of the screen even at lunchtime, and I'm not. I don't know that
heard
teacher.
That. I heard eating their lunch. In front of the.
I don't know that teacher, and I can't say, oh, they didn't, but that would really surprise me.
Well, I mean, that some dumbass probably did that.
Maybe.
But I'll be honest, like, I would assume if, as you're a teacher, like, you want those 20-minute breaks and that lunch break just as much as you want to give it to the kids.
And I also think that anytime you have a question, because I also know as a parent that, sometimes your kids give you actual information and sometimes it's not. Like, you just need to check it out with the teacher.
True, but and let me ask you this. I mean, a lot of times the parent, like, let's say the parent's working from home, like maybe the home's not very big. They now have, like, the kid was off in class.
Right.
Now they have the ability to hear you talk. They can actually almost audit the class. Yeah. Have you had more backseat driving from parents, or have you had more questions from parents?
There's a couple parents there, but I don't have those kids.
Or have some of your colleagues had this issue where...
A little bit, but I think they would have had it anyway. I mean, those parents would have been more... Mostly our parents are very, they haven't done that. Some of them sit by their little ones, which is actually awesome, and help them a little bit.
Well, as long as they're not
doing...
Going to try and do the teaching job.
Right.
Yeah.
But no, our parents haven't. I mean, I have not experienced that really. A lot of parents are in the room or walk through, and I think that's great because they know what their kids are doing.
And for all you parents, just remember, if your kid's on a Zoom classroom thing, make sure you put on all your clothes before you before you walk through their field of vision on their webcam. Everybody
needs to remember there's a very wide angle when you're looking into anybody's Zoom screen. Yeah. You can see a lot of
wear at least as many clothes as you would wear to go to the grocery store before you walk through your child's Zoom call.
Or if you're someone in your house is working, you still don't want to walk in the back of that. So,
but especially when there's little kids on,
you don't want to.
No one needs to see that.
Yeah,
but especially not little kids,
right?
What? So there are some teachers who do suck. Like, let's say this teacher was making the kids eat lunch during
that
break.
Could be possible.
And I've heard, lots of there's definitely accounts of teachers who have views, political or otherwise, that they're
That's
teaching.
Actually wrong. Yeah, they should not do that.
So well, I agree with you 100%. And that goes for if those views were the same as mine or not. I don't think that's a place for that to be taught. But what is your advice to a parent if your child has a teacher like that? And this is let's just say maybe you already tried to talk to the teacher, it doesn't go. Do you go to the principal? Like, if you're dealing with a teacher who might actually be a bad teacher?
I would always say, and you already said this, I would always say, please go to the teacher first, because it's never good. And most of us have had this happen that, for whatever, even if it's something small, they'll run right to the principal and then...
Oh, I mean, that's just life.
But...
Before you go tattled on someone to their boss...
Talk to the person.
Talk to the person first. And if they're an a-hole, then by all means.
But if you talk to a teacher and you really are getting a bad feeling, or the teacher is not... if it's something realistic and something's happening, and then, of course, you should talk to the principal because, that you need some help with that person. So, but I always do encourage people, please talk to the teacher first, see if you can work it out. And then if you need to go to the principal, because that's happened and rightfully so. I mean, fortunately not with me, but, there have been times where people needed intervention, help.
Yeah.
So I think that's perfectly fair. I mean, these are your children.
Well, you should talk to the teacher. Now, I mean, if something comes home like an assignment where it's hard set, then go talk to the teacher. But if it's something you're hearing from your kid, I mean, let's be honest, kids lie.
Well, they
Not
don't
saying
always.
they can.
They
do.
can.
Not
They
they
can.
always are.
Yeah,
but
they can.
They can, and they do.
Yeah, and not tell you the whole truth or whatever. So it's always good to check with
Or
the
they
teacher.
could be telling you their version of the truth
Yeah,
that they believe
yeah.
wholeheartedly, but they're missing some stuff.
Yeah, because sometimes, I mean, a teacher might have said something completely different, and a kid would say, I can't leave my screen, where the teacher didn't say that, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But always talk to the teacher because 90% of the time, it's going to be something easy that you two can figure out, and maybe just figure out that, oh, that's, that wasn't even something said. So,
Yeah. Or maybe you uncover a really bad teacher, and that maybe
True.
that teacher needs to be removed because she's dangerous or he's dangerous.
true.
And yeah, I don't know. So what words of wisdom do you have for people?
Oh, my goodness.
I'm running out.
Words
I'm
of
running out of
wisdom
questions to ask you, so I was going to kind of
I know.
try and kind of wrap it up.
I know.
I mean, we're still kind of in the middle of this pandemic thing.
I think so.
Although apparently, if you're under 44, you're still more likely to die in a car crash than die of COVID. But that's just what I heard earlier today.
Yeah, I think, well, one, probably the best advice for all of us is, we just really need to just not get overly anxious about all of it. And that's probably a good place to start. But I think for parents, just understand that most teachers, and I understand, I mean, I know I can only really speak for my school, but most teachers are working very hard. A lot of teachers also have their own children home going to school.
That must be tough.
So they're trying to be the parent and the teacher, and depending on the age of their children, it can be, harder or easier. And that goes for actually a lot of jobs, especially people that you have to call in to or whatever, a customer service type. But remember that. And then also remember, nobody expects the parents to be the teachers. So they shouldn't feel that, because I know I've heard a lot of parents say, oh my goodness, now I have to be a teacher. You don't. And also, please don't be afraid to ask the teacher questions anytime, or clear any. I mean, it doesn't even have to be that you heard something bad, but maybe you don't understand an assignment, or your child doesn't understand anything. Just open communication is, I think, really the best key to success for the children. And really, parents and teachers have to be a team, and I've always believed that. So that would be my best advice, that you two think of yourselves as a team that are working to help your child or children, be the most successful as they can.
Is it ever, would you ever be open to receiving this, or is it ever really appropriate to, if you, let's say I heard my child's classes, and I was like, I didn't have any problem with the way the teacher was doing it, but I had something that I thought might be a good addition or a tip.
Yeah.
Okay.
Feedback is fine.
Okay. Well, that's what I thought. I just was wondering. I don't know. Or you might just be like, yeah, dude.
Well,
I've already thought of that. It doesn't work. You're an idiot.
Probably 99% of the time it has been thought of, but
I'm sure.
But it's always, if you have an idea or something, or maybe your children's classes, they're studying something and that's your field, and you're like, hey, if you ever wanted me to, talk to them, do a video for you, whatever.
Or if you have some insight
awesome.
on something about your own child and how they learn, that's probably easy to, or a good one to share.
I would absolutely share that. If you found success in something.
Like, Johnny needs to get out of his chair every 23 and a half minutes. Otherwise, he throws a temper tantrum.
See, that's the thing, though. They can. I mean, obviously, the older kids are more, sixth graders should be able to sustain for an hour because they're sixth graders. But obviously, I don't mind. Little ones are up, moving around. They don't have to sit in the chair the whole time. And that's fine.
They just have to be paying attention.
Yeah, and I know that the younger ones, we switch it up a lot. I know kindergarten teachers do a lot of movement things.
Every time you mention the younger ones, I just always think of the little kindergarten class on South Park. That's all I think of.
It's probably very similar. You really cannot. Everything has to be like boom, boom, boom. You have to switch because they're just little. And that's okay.
Yeah, they have the the attention span of a goldfish. Although most of us probably do too, so that's not necessarily a bad thing. Do you have any parting advice for not teaching related, but just in general, how to tough through this
All of this
bullshit? How to stay positive in the pandemic?
I can only say for me and my friends, I have good friends that I still see, a couple really good friends, and one is trying to find, all the little things that are positive and making everything, and especially now during the holidays, really trying to just find little things and enjoy them. I think staying in touch with people, I think it's really important to stay in touch with friends and family, and, whether you want to say your bubble, your quarantine, however you want to put it, I think that's important.
All that stuff was real cute a long time ago.
I know,
now
it's just not now. But I think it's still important.
I agree.
And I still walk with one of my good friends at least once a week.
You stay 6 feet away?
Sometimes. We feel that we are somewhat in the same bubble. But
you feel like if one of you has it, you both probably have it.
Yeah.
So it is what it is.
But, I think that that's important, just like having that contact with people and just trying to enjoy the slowdown, because even though we're forced to slow down, in some ways, I know personally, I have found it a little bit nice. Like maybe we're not all rushing around so much and chasing our tails, and, we can enjoy reading a book that, one of my favorite children gave me, things like that. Just trying to enjoy the small stuff and not get over, and I guess my biggest thing is don't listen to the news all day long. The most stressed people I know have their news on all day long.
I still maintain gut, if not get rid of your social media. You probably want to keep your social media to stay in touch with your friends and family. If you want to, I got rid of mine almost completely. I got rid of cable, so I don't watch the news. I don't pay attention to the news. I mean, I read enough to know what's going on, but that's about it. I highly recommend you turn off the news, because the news has always gone by. If it bleeds, it leads.
Yeah.
Metaphorically, literally.
And I think there's good, like about a couple times a week, I listen to it in the morning for a little while. But I mean, some people have it on all day, and unfortunately that just...
We're all going to die.
Yeah. So...
Oh my God.
I think just trying to stay positive and, whatever it is for you. Like if it's walking with a friend, if it's doing yoga, if it's exercising, I mean, you should really just do the things that make you feel good.
Or baking or gardening.
Gardening. Yeah. I mean, anything that just makes you happy and...
Build something.
Yeah.
Cook something.
Everything's been said before, but I think it has
Read
merit.
something. Yeah, I agree. Well, thank you, Dru.
Thank
Mrs.
you.
Frick, Mom. It's been a pleasure. I hope this was educational to people. I know I learned a lot, but hopefully some of y'all that have little ones got something out of this. So, and if you know Joe Rogan, tell him to have Dru Frick on his podcast, because she gets straighten him out on all this teaching stuff.
He's probably going to be angry if he ever heard this, but
I don't think so. And what he might end up seeing, he might end up seeing is that he misunderstood it, or he might end up seeing that his kids had shitty teachers, and that's unfortunate.
Yeah, I would love the chance to just talk with him, but we'll see.
I mean, he might want you to get high with him, so I don't know how you feel about that,
No.
Mom. No, he doesn't get high all the time. No, just some guests. Cool. Well, thank you all for listening. Everybody, be good, and we'll talk to you later.
So what I believe you were trying to say is thank you.